The longer you spend learning how to market your business, the more that you hear, be different, be unique. But when you actually study successful businesses, you start to notice that the best companies in the world did not invent their category. They didn't even invent the product, and they definitely didn't invent every marketing tactic that they used. They found things that were already working, they understood why they worked, and they adapted them to fit their new business. So in this video, we're going to talk about why great marketers steal, what you should copy, what you should never copy, and how AI makes this process easier than ever before. If you guys want more clients, more sales, and marketing that actually works, you should subscribe, because that's what all my videos are built to help you do. So naturally, the first thing we need to talk about is, why do great marketers steal? And when I say steal, I'm not talking about full-on, plagiarism, like if you found somebody who sells the same thing as you and you copy their entire website and just change the logo. I'm talking about finding a pattern. So the first classic example is Uber. They did not invent transportation for hire. People have been calling taxis for decades. What they did is they took that model and they made it dramatically more convenient for the customer through mobile technology, GPS tracking, digital payments, and a lot of other things. Or the other classic example of McDonald's. They did not invent hamburgers or French fries. They didn't even invent fast food. What they did is they created a system that delivered the food faster, more consistently, and at a scale that none of their competitors could match. So none of these ideas were new, but the execution of the idea was new. A lot of marketers think that success comes from, inventing the next slice of bread, the thing that no one's ever seen before. But you usually find that success comes from finding something that's already working, and then you improve on the way that it's delivered. So unfortunately, though, a lot of people feel a really strange sense of guilt, or shame rather, when they hear that advice, because they think that if they borrow someone else's idea or they model a successful business, that they're cheating. But I want to let you know right now that that is how the free market works. Businesses compete by learning from each other. They improve their products, experiences, they lower the costs, they increase the convenience, and they create a better outcome for all of the consumers. When Uber improved transportation at large, anyone who wasn't even using Uber still benefited, because all the taxi companies have to improve their own apps, reduce the wait times, or offer a better customer experience to compete with Uber. When one company raises the standard, all the competitors are forced to improve as well. That is how the market creates new value. So naturally, the next question is, what should marketers copy? Now, there are certain things you should actively be studying, all the time, and modeling more than anything else. And the first would be offers. So if every successful company in your niche is structuring their offer in a certain way, that's probably something you should try to emulate, right? For example, if every high-performing agency in your niche is selling a monthly growth program instead of charging hourly for projects, that's a good sign that you are probably behind. The second thing is hooks for any kind of advertising. So certain headlines, promises, and opening angles will very consistently outperform everything else. So if you notice, let's say 10 successful competitors that all approach the same problem from a very guerrilla angle instead of a matter-of-fact one, you should probably be doing the same thing. So for example, if you're selling SEO services and every successful competitor has ads that lead, "Google is hiding your business from customers," instead of, "We provide SEO optimization for landscapers," or something like that. That should tell you that more provocative angles tend to capture more attention for your niche. Now, what you don't do is copy their exact wording, but you should pay attention to the pattern and test a very similar approach. Now, the third thing you should be looking at all the time is landing pages and video sales content. So looking at how do they structure their headlines, problem statements, the proof, testimonials, offers, call to action within those two things. You're going to quickly notice that most of the high converting pages follow very similar frameworks, because the customer profile is the same across your niche, right? Again, they're not identical, but the structures are relatively similar. Of course, you also don't want to overlook the customer experience. So a lot of companies are absolutely secret shopping around. So they're booking calls with their competitors, they're buying their products, they're going through the onboarding process, they're analyzing pre-call forms, they're signing up for your email list, and they're just shopping around for secrets to improve their show rate, retention, sales strategy, and they will do it to you too. Now that you know what you should copy, you need to know what you shouldn't copy. So you should copy patterns, but you shouldn't copy assets. So don't go copying logos, branding, visual identities, trademarks, and copyrighted materials, or entire sales pages or ads word for word. And you also need to be very careful about blindly copying pricing. This is probably one of the biggest mistakes I see across the entire agency space. Your competitors all have different margins, different overhead, different staffing requirements, different costs to fulfill the services, etc. Pricing only works within the economics of a specific business. The easiest way I can demonstrate this for you is comparing a large agency to a solo consultant. The large agency might charge $4,000 per month because they have account managers, specialists, automated systems, and fixed software costs because they're on the enterprise plans. And their actual cost to deliver for every single one of their clients is probably around $1,500. So they have plenty of room to make money. Now, the solo consultant who copies that same price point has completely different economics. If they're personally spending 20 to 30 hours per month because they are the entire business, and let's use the average hourly rate for a solo consultant, which is $150 an hour, they're already spending more worth of labor than they charged the client initially. And that's before accounting for what they have to pay in taxes, software, what they spend on marketing themselves, etc. Unless this solo consultant could finish all the necessary work for all of their clients in, let's say, a fifth of the time, maybe 6 or so hours, $4,000 isn't nearly enough to justify charging. They would need to go super far up market and charge premium pricing, or reduce the amount of services they offer to save time and prevent, burnout. On paper, both of those situations are charging the same amount of money, but only the large agency is sustainable and scalable. Price alone should not be an asset that you copy from competitors blindly. Conceptually, the same goes for basically anything that you could copy from your competitor. You have to think about the context behind the decision that they made. So, what is their budget? How big is their team? How long have they been in market? What is their specific audience profile? How much content do they post online? How many reviews do they have? Etc., etc. Their strategy might be perfect for them and be completely wrong for you. Lastly, we're going to talk about using AI to steal smarter. So AI has made competitive research super easy for even the average marketer. You can feed landing pages into AI and ask it to find the recurring themes, the structure elements, the objections they're addressing. You can analyze your competitors' offers really easily, collect their homepages, sales pages, product pages, even their newsletters, and ask AI to identify the pricing models, guarantees, bonuses, packages that make them effective. You can even export customer reviews from Google, G2, Trustpilot, Yelp, and then have AI find the recurring complaints, outcomes, buying motivations that show up repeatedly. You can review Meta's ad library, TikTok Creative Center, and collect the examples from high-performing campaigns, and then have AI identify the patterns around those ads. You can build your swipe files faster, organize your research faster, identify trends faster, but AI should not replace your judgment. It helps you recognize patterns, but you still need to understand why those patterns exist. If I could give you one personal recommendation, I would have you read Influence by Robert Cialdini, and it's probably the single best book that I've ever read for understanding why offers, messaging, etc. works across different industries. Now guys, a bad marketer copies assets and a good marketer copies patterns. This is not even unique to business. Elite athletes learn this way. Boxers don't become great by ignoring the experienced coach and then inventing every movement from scratch. They study the people who came before them. They copy techniques, they refine skills, and they develop their own style over time. The market has already told you what works. It is your job to understand why those things work and adapt it to your audience. If this helped you, you should leave a like and subscribe, and comment below if you're trying to implement a new strategy and want some guidance.